Hello and welcome back to the Facts of Facts, the only Facts of Life podcast that wishes this episode was still stuck in Natalie's footlocker. This was a bad one.
This is really bad. And it was somehow managed to be a worse version of the episode we saw just last week. It was like these people saw that one and they were like, you know what? That's a really good idea, but let's execute it somehow even worse.
Oh, way worse. I think the last week's one was fine. I mean, like, there was problems with it, like the selling of women and stuff like that. But as an episode, it had like a drive. Whereas this one, like, just nothing made sense.
So you mean it had a lot of thrust in it?
Yes.
Last week's, not.
I know you love thrust. Well, let's get into it. One of the reasons I think that this was not one of the better ones was because there's a whole it's like a B team crew did this episode. This was Azad Kannada.
How long have you been sitting on that one?
Just since last night.
Okay.
But the first things I wrote in my notes. So we have a first-time director. His name is Selig Frank. And he was an AD on Maude and a handful of other sitcoms. He was an AD on this one before he got to do this, which is his directorial debut. He went on to direct a couple of One Day at a Times, 2 Different Strokes, 22 Small Wonders, which is such a badly directed show that that kind of does add up.
That's the one about that's the one where the little girl is a robot.
Yes, and the show is great, but directed weird.
The show is not great. It is genuinely an insane show. It was like a man who designs robots was like, I'm desperate to have a daughter, and then was like, oh, I'll just build one myself. And then it's this little girl who like builds her in the garage, and then she comes in and does weird shit all the time because she's a fucking robot.
And they fall in love with her.
Yeah, I certainly didn't. I hate robots.
Well, to each his own.
Okay.
He also did 8 Out of This World, which, and a Blossom. He got his start as a stage manager for American Bandstand. He was the stage manager for the 1968 and the 1970s Oscars. The 1969 Oscars were a shit show without him, I'm assuming. He did the Lawrence Welk Show, Barney Miller, The Jeffersons, and All in the Family. I have no proof, but I'm pretty sure he's dead.
Okay. All right.
There was just no information on him post that Blossom. Anyway, the episode was also written by newbies, Jerry Jacobius and Stephen Gore, and I did some research, and I found this very interesting. Stephen Gore seems to have transformed into Nick Gore by the time they did the next episode, and then they share their career, Nick and Jerry Jacobius, for the rest of the 80s until their careers dissolve. They do one more Facts of Life, which is For the Asking, next season, and that'll be it for them in the Facts of Life universe. This is their first writing gig, but they'll go on to do Alice, Silver Spoons, Boys Will Be Boys, Dirty Dozen, Marblehead Manor, Hunter, FBI, The Untold Stories, and one TV movie called Cold Case Cops in 1992, and that was the end of them.
I wish that this had been the end of them.
It should have been. If it was, things might have been better for us, because, oh God, it was a slog.
It was a slog, and everyone. So here's the thing. Let's just get right to it. What do you think this episode was about?
Oh, obviously, it's clear to me.
Mm-hmm.
Do not, under any circumstances, polish all your jewelry with your friend's toothbrush, because that is psychotic and will lead to the universe crumbling around you.
Yeah, so at that point, that was literally the moment during that little bit of what started the whole conflict between Blair and Natalie that happened, that we got 1 minute before the end of the episode, which is that Blair polished all of her silver jewelry with Natalie's toothbrush. And when Natalie then went on to her punchline, which really left a bad taste in my mouth, I felt my soul leave my body, hang out like 20 feet above my house. And I went, oh, God. And then it came back in, and I was like, oh, thank God, because this episode's over.
Oh man, I laughed so hard I think I loosened my earbuds. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I like finding out that was the reason why all of this transpired was shocking, was way too late, was bizarre in itself.
Yeah.
And then Natalie's response about the left bad taste in my mouth was just devastating.
So basically, we don't open the cafeteria.
We have that.
At least we have that. We open. You paused. We open in the girls' room, and Tootie's doing her calisthenics. Oddly, like just for no reason for no reason for her to even be in the scene, right?
Yeah, it's a chance to show off that outfit, that velour Eastland colored jumpsuit she had.
Yes, it was. I mean, it was quite fetching. I wish I had that jumpsuit. But anyway, Natalie is busy scribbling in her diary, and Blair is beseeching her to help her with her chemistry experiment, because according to the chemistry teacher, there's a B+ floating out there for Blair. And then Natalie says, keep it floating for a minute. I'm busy. And the audience does one of those unclear, should I laugh at this? Is this a joke? Which reminded me of season 1.
This had that. Literally what I wrote.
Yeah. It had that weird thing where you were like, where the audience didn't know what to do. And it happened out this whole episode. There was a weird applause break that was crazy.
Crazy.
The audience just was like, I don't, like, should I, yes, no, cry, boo, should I hiss? It was like, they didn't know what was happening, because clearly whoever was directing this didn't know whether these were jokes or not.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes.
And the writers.
I know. I literally wrote, this reminds me of season 1's non-jokes. That's so amazing that you said that. Yeah. But in order to make the plot work, Blair must explain to us that chemistry is Blair's one chink in her academic armor, and Natalie is suddenly Einstein when it comes to chemistry.
Well, I do have to say that same here, Blair, because that was the chink in my scholastic armor as well. I was so bad at chemistry, and I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm never doing science again.
Yeah, no, me and science did not get along at all. I just don't care. But she needs Nat's special attention.
Yes.
And Nat is happy to help, but has to explain that she's got some adult feelings playing on her soul.
Private inner adult feelings, while they're still playing on her soul, that she needs to jot down in her diary, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so fair enough, that's fine. But again, everyone knows about this fucking diary, and she makes a big song and dance about hiding the diary and hiding the key, and she makes everyone turn around so that they don't know where anything is. If you're writing down secret, private, inner adult desires in your diary, maybe wear the key on a rope around your neck.
Yeah, sure.
And it was on a huge rope. It was on a huge, very bright red rope that she could have literally worn around her neck, but she made a big song and dance about having all these private things that she's writing down, and then is like, I need to hide this so that you don't see or hear my private thoughts.
It's so extra.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to turn on my stage light. I forgot to do that.
Well, he looks so much better.
Well, as the sun goes down, once we approach hour 2 of this podcast.
That's true. Here's the thing, is that you were so underlit that it was as though you were doing an anonymous interview on Nightline, where they changed your voice into one that was unintelligible, Yeah.
My deep shame is this podcast.
Yes, it is my deep shame.
I know. Anyway, so Tootie's this sociopath doing these weird stretches into Nat's face as she reads the diary. So weird, and says out loud for no reason, Ah, yes, your diary. In Nat's face.
Yeah.
It's bananas.
Yeah, and then she goes, "Oh yeah, your diary," which sets up what that is, right? And it makes Tootie look as though she's trying to look at the diary, right? And she,
Mhm.
"Oh, hey, when do you think my private inner feelings will be worth keeping a secret?"
You don't need to ask permission to write a diary when you've been picked up by a prostitute and a pedophile and met Jermaine Jackson and was accused of a bomb threat all in the past school year, and all your friends are getting raped. Write in your diary. You're
Yeah,
totally welcome to it.
but I think this was again an attempt at a joke because it was they keep using the word desires, inner adult feelings. So it's some sort of like thing where it's like Tootie hasn't gotten her period yet and doesn't know how to be horny. And she's like, when do I get to have a diary and write down all my sexual fantasies like you, Natalie, who apparently lust after the people on Family Feud.
I learned about this. I know what that's about, and we're going to get to it.
Thank you, because I did a cursory amount of Googling about that, and I couldn't figure it out. So
I did, and you will love/hate it. But then Joe comes in from an afternoon of eating pussy disguised as playing field hockey.
Yeah.
She is wearing some short shorts.
Yes, but also she's wearing very big socks and huge knee protectors, knee pads. So it was like the shorts were small, but the leg covering was big. So there was a very small window, like letterbox of flesh between her pussy and the rest of her outfit.
Letterbox of flesh. Please remember that. Yeah, so she walks into the room and announces, because this is what these writers do, field hockey. What a great way to get your aggressions out with a stick. Might as well have just walked in and went, I've got penis envy.
Actually, I wrote so clearly what the case is that Joe wears the strap on.
Yeah, for sure. I'd like you didn't know that. Blair says that the way that Joe plays field hockey is sheer barbarism, and she slammed her face into Jennifer McFadden's crotch like 9 or 10 times.
Yeah, and she said, "What? I just gave her a body check."
Blair's like, all the way to the parking lot, and Joe's like, where else do you want me to check her body out with my tongue?
That's the place where she likes to do all of her body checking, in the parking lot by her giant dyke bike.
And then Joe sits down, and I can clearly see her vagina.
Yeah.
Blair offers to no one that you'll never catch her on a hockey field because all that ruffian behavior could play havoc with her bone structure.
I do have to say, Joe does deliver a nice burn here.
I wrote that too. We are on the same page this episode. I wrote, that's a solid burn, and I don't have much to contribute here.
And then so Joe says, what's the big deal? Plastic surgery's in your future anyway. And
that was one of like 3 laughs of this episode.
But and for not having that much, for Joe not being actually the comic relief in most episodes, she was very funny in this one.
She was funny in this one.
Her weird snoring problem,
which was like such a throwaway plot. Like, who decided to do that? Just like one thing gonna have a little sub detour.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yes.
When Mrs. Garrett enters in multiple shades of violet, apparently she's been asking the girls to hear her opening line for some speech for a dietitian's convention.
Yeah.
I really wanted to make fun of them, but I did research, and there are so many of these things out there.
Well, there are, but the number one is the Food and Nutrition's Conference and Expo, which is held in Indianapolis. It's,
I did miss that one.
Very important. But anyway, so that Mrs. Garrett comes in, she's like, hey, girls, I need you to listen to my opening lines because I haven't figured that out yet. And they're all like, oh, jeez, I hate this. And she goes, hey, it's not every day I get to give a speech at the dietitian's convention. The.
Yeah. It takes place at the Fanny Bryce Ballroom.
Fanny Price Memorial Ballroom. We'll get to that later.
We sure will.
Yeah.
And I bet we have different things too, because Fanny Bryce is a dive herself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So her opening lines are all fine. They're my fellow dietitians, dear women and men of the dietary industry, and you want to do the third one?
The last one is, hi there, health nuts. What? The thing is that, like, and then Joe's like, that's better. Yeah, that's better. Yeah. As though, like, here's the thing. I would have rather have heard Mrs. Garrett's shitty keynote speech at this dietitian convention than watch this episode again.
Yeah, 25-minute speech I'd be down for.
Yes.
And also, like, these are her opening lines, just like her salutation they're, like, shitting on before she can get anywhere. It's not like, she says later on she needs an opening story, but this is not a story that they're just like, nope, cut it.
It's confusing because already it's boring. I don't even want to know what happens at these dietitian conferences, right? So, like, but here's the thing is that, like, what kind of story does she need to open her keynote speech or whatever? It's just got to be funny. For whom?
For the 1,300 people in the Fanny Bryce Memorial Ballroom in Poughkeepsie, New York.
Yes.
Anyway, so they all reject her lines. Joe likes hi there, health nuts, and Natalie interrupts with something super important. Everybody, pay attention to me. I've got to hide the key to my diary. Now, everybody notice? Okay, cool. Now turn around. I got to have this big ceremony.
And the thing about the key, so Tootie goes, well, now it's time to play hide the key again, where it's like these writers really hang a lampshade on what's going on. And it's like they describe every single thing that's happening, but also Natalie has the key on this giant red rope. It's a huge ribbon that she's like flapping around like she's a semaphore. Like she's like, well, I need to make sure that you know exactly where I'm not putting this, where she puts it every time.
They'll never figure it out. Don't worry. Azad, where are you?
Yeah. And then Mrs. Garrett says, I went to great lengths to hide my key when she was there, my diary key when I was your age. And then Tootie's needlessly cruel and was like, you had diaries way back then?
Well, Samuel Pepys is the earliest known diarist. His diaries were preserved at Magdalene College, Cambridge, and were published in 1825 when Mrs. Garrett was just a young tot in Appleton. So
it's Samuel Pepys. He's very famous. But yeah, he's incredibly well known for his diaries because he was very well rounded and very popular and would go out and describe basically every single thing that he did. So he gave an unbelievably clear, weird, interesting look as to society because he would talk about, I went over to Dominik's house and we had Cheerios with chocolate milk and it was delicious, but then I had gas all night. And like it was very like weirdly intimate with his stuff. Like he would describe his like stool, but then also be like, I met with the Duke of Windsor today and he's a real blowhard asshole. I fucking hate him. So it was just interestingly like very like high level like stuff about politics, but also like how much he masturbated that day.
I should look into this. Did you notice the Marx Brothers poster by Natalie's bed for animal crackers?
I sure did.
I liked that. And did you see also that Nat had in her little bunk a little pin-up of Rick Springfield?
So I didn't. I was trying to figure out who that was. But yes, that comes full circle.
It sure does. So Mrs. Garrett is really desperate for some snappy opening line to wow the dietitians. She's going to go through her old issues of Food Can Be Fun, which is not a thing, to look for some witty remarks on cholesterol and amino acid.
Yeah, so she's going to go, I looked it up as well. So she's going to go through her old issues of Food Can Be Fun, which now that we're in quarantine, food is like one of the only fun things that I get to do these days. So
masturbating like Samuel Peep.
Nope, no masturbating. No, but
I'm masturbating with marshmallow peeps. I got them everywhere. I like them to look at me while I do it.
And then you eat them.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Food Can Be Fun, which sounds like the worst magazine in the world.
Yeah.
But because here's the thing, food is already fun. But I looked this up. I was like, food can be fun. And then I was like, magazine? No, it doesn't exist. But I did find a list of how can I make food fun? Do you want to hear the list?
It's pretty fun, but yes, please.
Okay. 1, shrink it.
That does sound fun.
Yeah. Focus on companionship.
What? Like steak, you're my lover now.
No, it's sort of like, Dominik, do you want to come over and have dinner with me? That would be fun.
Oh, food can be fun.
Yeah. Okay. 3, offer fruits and vegetables for the first course.
Nah.
4, make faces.
No.
5, accept help in the kitchen.
Sure.
Grow it yourself and harvest it.
I like that.
Get closer to the food origins, like make your own bread or butter or cheese.
No.
Make eating new or unusual foods a privilege.
Can you say that one more time? You broke up just a hair.
Make eating new or unusual foods a privilege.
Oh, okay.
Dominik, when you're 14 years old, you're probably going to start liking coffee. And it's like you're 9 years old and you're like, but I want to feel like a teenager. I probably will like to have coffee. Anyway, and then the last one is look forward to cooking. Actually, that isn't the last one. The last one is eat like a monster.
That is fun, and that's what I like to do.
So when sorry, that was my thing. That was a list of how to make food fun for children.
I'm gonna check to see if mine is muted.
If I mute my computer, then I can't hear you. So
that's okay. You do what you gotta do. Ding dong all day.
Yeah.
Yes. So anyway, Mrs. Garrett leaves, and the writers try to balance all 3 plots in one scene so clunkily. We have Nat transition with a, "Hey Blair, here's something to help you get that B+."
Yeah.
She
and
gives
it's
her a book and tells her to read it.
Yeah.
Pretty sound advice, but Blair whines that she still needs Nat's physical help.
Yeah.
Weird thing to say. And then Nat calls herself the wizard and says that she has to go first chop veggies for Mrs. Garrett. They're having Irish stew, and she says it like it's a bad thing.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, my cat is meowing. Blair freaks out that Natalie's not going to help, and then Natalie's like, whoa. I will help. The wizard will be back. I just need to go chop these vegetables. And I hated that because because chemistry is science and not magic.
Well, that wouldn't make me hate something, but I do understand your train of thought.
Oh yeah, but then she's like, oh, well, I got to go help Mrs. Garrett chop vegetables because we're having Irish stew tonight. And I thought, here's the thing, Mrs. Garrett's not worrying and busybodying herself about her fucking dinner for these children. She's worrying about her goddamn speech. She doesn't care about the Irish stew.
That is true.
Have you had Irish stew?
Yes, I'm a big fan.
Do you know what goes into it?
Would you like to tell me?
Yes. Lamb, potatoes, carrots, but carrots are controversial, onions, and parsley. Sometimes Guinness and sometimes red wine. But potatoes were a later addition because they are not native to Ireland. They're from South America.
Interesting. But what about the Irish potato famine?
So the potato came from South America when when Britain was colonizing, and I believe it was Sir Walter Raleigh was a big explorer, and he came back to England with a potato, which originate in South America, and he presented it to Queen Elizabeth and said, "And this is a great aphrodisiac." And she was like, "Oh shit, I just came. Hand me one of those potatoes." Anyway, so that's how they first got back to the old world from the new world.
I feel like I just watched a Brit episode of Drunk History and I loved it. All right, so yes.
Okay,
anyway.
So Natalie.
Blair says, oh, sorry, go ahead.
So Natalie's like, ugh, I gotta go chop these stupid vegetables for Irish stew, and then
Blair whines like a baby.
Blair's like, well, wait, that reminds me. If Stu calls,
oh yes,
please
track her down wherever she is on the face of this earth.
So what the hell happened to Dink from last week?
She goes through men pretty quick.
Well, apparently so does Natalie. Because last week she was hung up on Tim, and now it's some new person,
Philip Finkelman. Whatever. It's probably better than Tim Hollifield. He was an ass. Anyway, so Nat goes to go veggie chopping, and Blair whines like a baby about how they got to work on their project. And Nat gives an answer I wasn't expecting. When Blair's like, "When are we gonna do it? When are we gonna do it?" And Nat's like, "After Family Feud." And I'm like,
Blair,
"What?"
Blair goes, "After Family Feud?" Like Family Feud comes on at like what, 7?
Yeah. Regardless, Nat says that the reason is because she has to watch it because it's the best kissing on television.
What is this?
Okay, so you can pull up, and it's in fact interesting because it was trending.
Start again. Start again. You broke up.
Oh, okay. So, in the 70s, on Family Feud, it was hosted by a guy named Richard Dawson. Mm-hmm. Richard Dawson would kiss every single female contestant on the lips. The lips. Every time. It's startling to watch. And for some reason, just earlier this month, like a week and a half ago, it was trending on Twitter. Because like a new generation discovered it and was like, what the fuck is this?
Really?
Yeah.
That's insane. Also, can you just say lips again?
Lips.
And penis, which is from Basic Instinct, and it's my favorite line. There were trace amounts of cocaine on his lips and penis.
In there. Anyway, so I cannot believe that this thing was trending in the middle of a pandemic.
Well, clearly people fell down at some sort of, weird YouTube, rabbit hole like we do. It's like some people are like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to, because they still rebroadcast old Family Feuds on all of those game show networks. And I learned there was a new network called Buzzer with no E that just has game shows on it. Of course.
That's like a dating app for game show contestants to meet each other.
Exactly. Where'd you meet Buzzer? He's a Price is Right fan, but I'm a big wheel girl. Yeah. Anyway, so so that's insane. So that I can imagine that people.
I'm looking for a wheel woman to spend my life with. So yeah, also weird that horny Natalie uses Family Feud to bring herself to orgasm.
I mean, she says it's the best kissing. Maybe that's the only kissing she gets to see.
It's so intimate that honestly I kind of get what she's saying, although it's horrifying. I think it was the writer's commentary on like this isn't even normal in 1982. Anyway, Blair gives her the look, and Nat says, all right. But she hadn't set the time, so it's like, what are you fucking talking about now?
Yeah.
Because these writers suck.
Yeah, so then Natalie leaves, right? And and then Blair's like, oh, God, isn't Natalie the best? And then Tootie's like, yeah, we like her a lot. And then Joe's like, she's amazing. And Blair says, she's basically a goddess. And then Joe says, whoa. I think you went a little too far on that one.
Jennifer McFadden, that's a goddess.
Yeah, okay, exactly. But the thing is that as soon as that happened, I was like, the diary first was like uh-oh, wee-oo, here's the thing that's going to be the plot of this episode. But I was like, as soon as all these girls start saying nice shit about one of them, bad stuff's going to happen. The call is coming from inside the house.
It's true. We've got no guest cast this week, so the call is definitely coming from inside this house. Yeah. Anyway, Blair decides that since Nat is saving her life, she should get her a present. Okay, cool. How about the present of privacy? How about that?
Yeah. Or just, she's like, I can't think about, she's like, I'm too stressed out about all this chemistry shit that I have to do. So I can't be creative about this. But she's like, so what do you think she'd really like? And then Tootie very helpfully says, Rick Springfield.
And she wiggles her eyebrows and gives like full-on brace face. Makes me extremely uncomfortable, and it will go into the credits like in perpetuity. It's
Yeah.
like always going to be in the credits.
So I had to actually, I get Rick Springfield confused with Rick Astley.
Oh God, no.
Only because of the Rick. And the thing is that when you get Rick rolled, right? I get that song confused with Jesse's Girl, which is a Rick Springfield song, because they're both sort of annoying. In any case, I looked up Rick Springfield because I was like, huh. And he's actually Australian, but now he's an American citizen now. But he was born Rick Springthorpe. Okay, but also he is a musician, obviously, as we know, but he's also an actor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, right? He was on, I think he was like General Hospital and whatever. But he was also I think he was also he played basically like a more debauched version of himself on like Californication, you know. But he was also in True Detective. And your favorite movie, Ricky and the Flash.
I loved Ricky in the Flash, and that's right, he is in there, and he's perfect in it.
Wait, say it again, because you stopped.
Oh, I said I love Ricky in the Flash, and that's right, he is in it, and he's perfect in it.
I mean, here's the thing. I've seen that movie, and it is not bad, but it's one of those things where you're sort of like, what is this stage of career that Meryl Streep is in, where she's like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna flex my nuts, and I'm gonna sing in every fucking movie that I'm in for the rest of my life.
She said that. She said she only wanted to pick movies where she sings.
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
It's such a flex. It's like, I want to be a rock star. I'm gonna be in Mamma Mia. I'm gonna do Garbage ABBA musical, and I'm also gonna be that notoriously bad opera singer who was married to a closeted homosexual.
Yeah, she can do it all. She is an American treasure.
I mean, when's her hip hop movie gonna come out?
Ooh.
She's no Rita Wilson in terms of that.
Oh, yeah, Rita did rap pretty well, and she was sick at the time.
She did raise Chet Hayes. So.
Yeah, well, then there you go.
Yeah, star.
So Blair wants to get into Natalie's mind and get into her secret desires, which are obviously boys and jelly beans, so I don't know why she needs that. And maybe like a little Tim Hollifield. She should do that. She should ask Tim Hollifield for dick pics, give them to Natalie, and be like, you're welcome, perfect gift. Everybody's happy.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Natalie's jerking off to Family Feud reruns.
And Family Food reruns as well.
Big fan of Family Food. Yeah.
And Blair intimates that the answers must be in Nat's diary, and Tootie's like, don't you dare. And she says, I would never, meaning 100% she's going to. She resents the insinuation. And Joe quotes Bart Simpson and says, don't have a cow, Blair.
Yeah.
So I researched the etymology of the phrase don't have a cow.
I thought you would, because it seemed like the sort of thing you would be like very interested in, and I was like, this isn't the rabbit hole I'm going to go down.
So it's interesting. Nobody really knows. It came from a 1950s saying in England, which was about having kittens rather than having a cow. Meaning, like, make it a lesser experience than a giant, painful one. But when scrolling through historical uses of this expression, the first paragraph says that the earliest known use of don't have a cow on television was this episode of groundbreaking television.
So The Simpsons inherited this from Facts of Life?
Yes.
Wow. That's unbelievable.
Isn't it amazing? I mean, basically, America got don't have a cow from them.
You should tell Jay that, because he'd be like, no. That's can't be true.
All right. I will go back and tell Jay that he stole from the Facts of Life. Anyway, so...
That's the most insulting thing you've ever said to me, to Dominic.
So Joe jumps up and grabs her hockey stick, tells Tootie she's going to go help Nat. She's in the mood to slap shot a few spuds because this episode was written by monkeys.
Yeah, and it's like, here's the thing. She's going to slap shot some spuds. Last week it was boomerang buns. Joe doesn't know how to talk about food like a normal human.
That is fair. So it's at this moment alone that Blair proves herself to be a fucking liar, sneaking around even though she's alone in the room.
I know.
Start. Just go do it.
Yeah, so she does the thing. She's like,
yes, the second that she grabs Tootie's diary and sticks the key in,
yeah.
Joe re-enters and goes, on second thought, I don't think Mrs. Garrett would appreciate. No shit, you would never do this.
Yes, I know.
But also, I like that Tootie just disappears. It was like basically a way to get rid of Tootie.
It was a way to get rid of both of them, basically. And then, but we needed to have someone discover that, that Blair was doing something bad.
Yes, and Joe loves catching Blair red-handed. She's trying to justify it any way that she can. We all know where the key is. No one's taking it.
Yeah.
Besides, with all this chemistry work, I've got no time to figure out a present. Fucking turn blue, Blair. Turn blue.
Yeah, exactly.
Did makeup give Joe a black eye for field hockey?
I don't notice.
It was all purple around here. I couldn't tell if it was like a bruise. I know she was covered in mud, but anyway, Blair's like, since it's already unlocked, I might as well read it. That is not logic. And Joe just lets her read it.
Okay, so I will say this, obviously I'm not defending Blair for looking at something private. That is private property, whatever. But Natalie makes a big song and dance and a huge to-do about this thing where it's basically like her secret inner thoughts. Don't anyone look at me. I'm doing this thing where I'm writing all my secret desires and adult thoughts. So don't look at me doing this. And it's just basically making a huge spectacle of herself. And then it's like, I need to hide this. Don't look at me. Which is basically a way of saying, please look at me and pay attention to me because I'm shit stirring right now. Don't you want to know what's in the contents of this book?
You're not wrong. Natalie set herself up for this. I agree with you. If she just wanted to be quiet, she should have been quiet about it.
Yeah.
But no, she didn't.
No, which is what Joe says. She's like, I don't have any secrets because I don't fucking tell people my goddamn secrets. If I don't want people to know something, I don't let them know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But anyway, Joe just lets her read Watching with the Sourpuss, which is not a true friend. Blair reads a passage about Moose Jaw Muldoon, an unsavory teacher that looks like the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
I thought she was the librarian because she comes up later.
Yes, but I feel like these teachers swap things. Maybe she's just the librarian, but it's not too super important to the episode. But she goes on to read another passage about Philip Finkelman. What about Tim? What about fuck Steve?
What about all those carnies she gave those hand jobs to last summer?
That is also true. And then we turn to the next page.
The ones that were sending her all kinds of shit from being in the carnival on the road. She got that mountain of mail, and Blair was jealous of all of those, of all that love letters that she got from her random carnies.
I did forget about that. That's true. On the next page, it says that Blair Warner is an egotistical, selfish, air-brained witch, which Joe loves.
Yeah. Joe's like, yeah, sounds about right. That's correct.
Nat calls him like she sees him.
Yeah.
Apparently it was written only a few days ago. Was it when Blair didn't respect Nat's privacy and told Tim about her crush that few days ago? Nope, it's another stupid thing. A stupider thing. Yeah,
because Blair is coming off as the person who is, mostly abusive to her friends.
Yes, she is.
Blair says, she wrote this only 2 days ago, that two-faced crumb.
I laughed so hard at that.
So again, this is sort of like last week where it's like everyone's using these weird antiquated expressions like, turd blue. You're a crumb. I've only heard crumb when someone says you're a crumb bum, not crumb.
I haven't even heard of crumb bum. Two-faced crumb. Oh my God, I loved it. Anyway, Blair is furious Nat's been helping her write mean things in her diary, helping her while writing mean things in her diary. And Joe's like, don't be such an asshole.
Yeah.
Diaries are just temporary feelings, which I don't know if I agree with.
I don't buy that at all. However, I will say this. So speaking of diaries, so if you had a diary, right, that you were like flashing around being like, please don't read this. This is all my private information. Everyone would be like, I need to look at that diary. I need to fucking look at that. I need to know what she has to say about me and my friends and
Yeah.
family feud fantasies. Like, I need to know what she has to say about that stuff. Especially Tootie, because she would be like, I'm going to blackmail you using this. Like, Tootie is the person who I thought would have stolen the diary.
Yes, I agree with you. I have a little passage on that later on when all the shit's hitting the fan.
Yeah.
It really does feel like Tootie's like, I should be the one who's caught for so many. It's like Matt Lauer, like when Me Too started happening,
Yeah.
and he was just like, shit, it's coming my way. I know I deserve it. I'm just gonna hold my breath and hope it doesn't. And she does. She holds her breath throughout the episode, and she doesn't get exploded on.
So, but here's the thing that I was going to sort of, that what this episode and this incident made me think of is that if it's like you have a physical diary, right, that you like hide under your bed, you know, or the key area in your, Foot Locker, whatever, that's one thing, right? Because like, I mean, I would think that, if you break a lock on a little girl's notebook, you're being pretty bad, or if you steal the key and whatever, right? But I do have to say that in the early internet, let's say like 2002, 2003, 2004, right? A lot of people had online diaries, like live journals, right? And I had a sort of phony friend who was talking so much shit about me on her live journal as though she wasn't posting that shit for me to see. So like for Joe, like 1982, like mono years, like it's sort of like, this is private. This is just her like venting, whatever. But like in 2002, this is definitely stereo, and it's like, I want you to see this passive aggressively.
Yes. So Blair makes Joe promise. You're very right about that, by the way. I do like the live journal comparison. Blair makes Joe promise that she won't say anything.
Yeah.
And Joe's like, I wasn't even here. She's not being a good friend at all. And she tops it off by gloating that Nat didn't say anything bad about her and then just leaves happily.
Yeah. New scene.
We're out of that scene. Nice. We're in the cafeteria.
Thank God.
Tootie runs in excitedly saying, Joe, I've got the answer to your prayers. And Joe's like, Brooke Shields with a strap on?
No, she's the strap on. Brooke Shields wants the deep dicking from me. Yeah.
Anyway, apparently, since Joe and Tootie have nothing to do this episode, somebody was like, here, just give them this little plot about snoring. It'll take up some space. So Tootie told the hunky Mr. Gray about Joe's snoring problem, and Joe is not thrilled, but also not mad. She doesn't want the whole campus to know. And Blair's like, sorry?
It's private. She's like, that's personal information. But it's like, as a public, or, as a courtesy to other people in the room that you sleep with, the other three humans, if your snoring is a problem, you should seek help.
Fair enough. Blair suggests she moves to Alaska.
Maybe Tootie was doing this to help herself.
Of course she was. She's a sociopath.
But this is and Joe's like, you told that hunk that I snore?
Mm-hmm.
And he very disingenuously says, I was only trying to help, which is bullshit. Like, no one knows how to act like a normal human on this show.
Not this episode, that's for sure. Nat, especially right in this moment. This is the most forced thing that's ever happened on the show. Nat's like, I don't get people with secrets. I've got nothing to hide. What a hypocritical thing to say about the girl who's hiding where she keeps her fucking key.
Literally wrote down, this is in direct conflict with 5 minutes ago.
Yes, I agree. She calls herself an open and above board kind of gal. Okay.
No fucking way. Natalie, you're a little creep.
She is. Joe quietly asks Tootie if Mr. Gray had any suggestions, and he obviously did, because why would Tootie be saying that she's got the answer to her prayers?
Yeah, no, that's just to get them sort of like away from Natalie and Blair. But the great thing about that is that like she's like, So wait. What did Mr. Gray say about my snoring? Like, what should I do? Should I get like a, sleep apnea machine? Should I get one of those like things to open my nose? Should I put like a mouth gear in? Whatever. No, it's like, so what did he say? And then Tootie's like,
They didn't give her lines there.
for a weirdly long time, like on a sitcom that's 25 minutes long, it was like 4 seconds of her mouthing things like,
I'm about to tell you, but I don't know how to cure snoring, so I'm just going to be guessing because the writers didn't give me any words.
And then Mrs. Garrett comes in.
Yes, she does. She's a nervous wreck because she still doesn't come up with her opening line. There will be 1,300 people in the Fanny Bryce Memorial Ballroom.
Waiting to be amused. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So go ahead.
So do you want to do Fanny Bryce? Let's talk about Fanny Bryce.
Yeah, of course we are. I know that she's got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame 5 minutes from my house, right by my Dunkin' Donuts. And she's the creator and star of the Baby Snooks show.
Yes.
Which is originally called Post Toasties Time.
Mm-hmm.
And she performed as Baby Snooks on CBS's Popsicle Parade of Stars.
Yeah, so it was a radio show.
Yes.
Where it really was like very successful. Sorry, you froze. So it was very successful. So Fanny Bryce was born in New York, and she was very, she was an actress, a comedian, and a model, whatever, from the beginning of the 20th century. She was like extremely well regarded and, amusing. And she was very famous for being in the Ziegfeld Follies. Speaking of Baby Snook, right? So she started this character where she's basically a good-humored, but like kind of naughty little baby. And every episode is like her and Daddy doing something weird. Like it's like Daddy wants to invent water, and then he's like, oh, there you are, Baby Snooks, how are you doing? And he's like, I've been down in my basement laboratory making water. She's like,
but I don't understand, Daddy. We get water from the faucet.
Well, but this one is that, if you work hard and you put enough H2O together, you put the atoms together, then you can make your own.
She's like, but water comes from the faucet. It seems so lazy. It seems so crazy to make water yourself.
But that's the American way. And it's this weird, but she's just sort of like,
I don't understand.
And he's like, well, if it's just this, she
basically has this tiny little voice and like acts like a baby.
Anyway, so she was on, she did portray it on TV once. And
Did you watch it?
No, I didn't watch that, but I watched
it last night.
Okay. Everyone was like, she performed well. Like, it was like she didn't, screw up and like take a shit on the stage or whatever. But but Fanny Bryce was very like sort of publicly was like, it doesn't really work if you can see me because I'm a human woman. And it's like,
doing this,
and she's got like a big bow and that, so it's like.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
First of all, I watched it. It's on YouTube. And the best part is there's some popsicle propaganda at the beginning where they're like, popsicles are healthy and they're fresh and they are at your ice cream dealer and you can trust him because he's known for freshness. It's so weird. But then she comes on and everybody's so excited. They like delay her arrival. Like Daddy comes out first and there's like a lot of like, Baby Snooks, where are you, Baby Snooks? And it's Easter. It's just after Easter.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I watched it. It was just after Easter.
Does she have a bonnet on?
Yes.
Yeah.
So she comes out and she's a 55-year-old woman dressed like a toddler doing a very authentic baby voice. And it's nightmarish.
Yeah.
It's fucking horrific. And there's no doubt that everybody who watched it was like,
oh, God.
I mean, like, if you went years listening to this adorable Baby Snooks thing, and then that's your visual aid for it, like, years later, oh, man. It's really intense.
Here's the thing, is that, and this is actually insulting to Fanny Bryce, but it would be sort of like,
it's like, if you hear this coming out, like, hey, I need a lolly, because I just went to the doctor and I have an owie.
Or whatever, right? And then like out comes like, Russ Limbaugh. And you're like, what the hell? That's coming out of that? That's very Fanny Brice. She was not a traditionally, conventionally attractive woman, but she was not unattractive.
But when she dressed as Fanny Brice Baby Snooks this one time, they made her look like crazy.
Anyway.
But I wonder if Charlotte was a fan, and that's why they named it the Fanny Brice Memorial Ballroom.
Or, I will say this. I looked up whether there are Fanny Brice Memorial Theaters, and it does exist. And so here's the thing. I suspect that possibly one of these writers was a New Yorker who went to SUNY Stony Brook, because there was a Fanny Brice Memorial Theater there, which is
really?
That's in Long Island. That's not in Poughkeepsie.
Oh.
Yeah, but it certainly does not. It certainly does not fit 1,300 people. It fits 75.
There you go.
Also, it was destroyed in 2007 for more dorms, but possibly Mrs. Garrett is talking about the Fanny Brice Memorial Theater that is at USC in Los Angeles, because she can time travel to 2010 when that was completed.
Well, I mean, she's pretty clear it's in Poughkeepsie. But I will say that I did find out that Fanny Brice is the subject of Funny Girl.
Yeah, and Barbra Streisand played her and won an Oscar for it.
Any more Fanny Brice material, or are we good?
No, that's it.
All right. So Mrs. Garrett is stressed about these 1,300 people looking to be amused, and Joe suggests mud wrestling, which is just a bizarre suggestion.
I don't know, maybe to kind of it's like, we know exactly what you like, Joe.
Yeah. Tootie wants to know if Mrs. Garrett decided on her opening story yet. Opening story or opening line? Because it was opening line in the last scene, and now it's an opening story. But if it's an opening story, they never let her get any stories out in the last scene.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mrs. Garrett, they just don't care. Like, the writers just don't give a fuck.
No, and Mrs. Garrett's like, yeah, you know what I thought I would do is that I went to the library and I checked out all these joke books, because I'm going to lift a joke from these other people and plagiarize it and turn it into my shitty speech for these 1,300 dietitians. I can't even imagine being around 1,300 dietitians.
Oh, it sounds so hot.
I can't imagine.
Hate me.
At this point, I can't imagine being around 1,300 people, period.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I can't either. But could you imagine the judgment I would get from 1,300 dietitians? I will just let you know that I just got on clearance from Amazon.com a 48-count box of Cadbury cream eggs for $17.
Wait, are you already through the Cadbury cream eggs that you got last week? You're using your eyes. You're not confirming nor denying.
I'm eating about 4 a day.
Okay.
So 48 will last me a couple weeks.
Oh, so one thing speaking of Cadbury cream eggs. So one of our guests a while ago, my friend Michael, who was on the South Pacific episode, because he's a great theater genius. Anyway, he and I did theater together in high school. That's how I know him. And we were on a class trip to England to go to, the West End, and we went to Stratford-upon-Avon to go and see some Shakespeare, whatever. We saw 15 plays in 4 days or something. I think I was a junior. Maybe I was a sophomore and he was a junior. I can't remember. But Michael, he's a very energetic human, and he loves Cadbury cream eggs. He subsisted the entire time we were there on Cadbury cream eggs. That's all he ate.
You can do that. I think all the food groups, it's sort of dairy and meat and protein and stuff.
Yeah.
Eggs.
Meat, protein, a lot of meat and protein in those Cadbury cream eggs. But the funniest thing is that after day 4, it was it was not sustainable, and he just fell asleep at any time. It was dark. So, which was the worst possible thing for a theater trip. It's oh, we're gonna go see this.
Oh. poor guy.
Yeah.
So Mrs. Garrett says that Miss Muldoon needs some help cataloging a new shipment of books. Blair can't help because she's too busy getting fucked by all the Bates boys, but volunteers Natalie,
Yeah.
who's not into the idea because she doesn't like being around ugly people.
No, she's like, with Mustra Muldoon, I'll get back to you. Since when did Natalie turn into this cunt?
Yeah, she's a little judgy this episode.
Yeah, like, this isn't her. She's more of the sort of like, oh, can't you involve me?
But I will say that Blair is extra cunty in return when she's like, I'm surprised you don't want to hang out with Moose Jaw since you're both alike. And Nat's like, how? How are we alike? And she's like, well, you're both disgusting looking.
No, I was like, yeah.
That was harsh. That's real upset. She's like, me and Miss Quasimodo. Blair says the similarities are almost too scary.
Yeah, she says, stoop over a little and look in the mirror. It was appalling.
It was, yeah. And she finds herself hilarious. The audience is like, no.
Yeah, like, no, we're not. We were here kind of with you, Blair, but now, no.
And then Joe tries to save the day by offering to take Nat to a movie. It's the one about the guy who's trying to get his hands around your throat. It's called The Bates Boys Motel.
Well, yes. Perfect. But it was so weird. She was like, yeah, you want to come? You want to go to the movies with me? We're going to go see that flick where that guy tries to put his hands around your neck. And I was like, just up something. Just make anything up. Just say we're going to go, like, anything in the public domain. Like, it's like, we're going to go see, they're putting on a new version of the Sound of Music.
No, I agree with you. They literally had so many options because they've been saying movie names throughout this entire series. So why did they not this time? It was just these newbie writers are just garbage writers.
Didn't they mention Star Wars during the one where the baby was left behind?
She's like, everything. They're allowed to mention movies. Anytime Brooke Shields does anything, they bring it up.
Endless Love. Shogun.
The one where, Shogun. The one where they slide down the Blue Lagoon. The one where they slide down.
That's that movie about slides.
That's what I took from it as a child. So Blair's really playing with fire here and suggests that maybe Nat will run into Philip Finkelman at the movies. And she's like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? Blair's like, you love him. You told me.
Yeah. So that's gaslighting.
Yes, it is. Blair goes on to say, I don't know why you're getting so worked up about him. He's never given you a second glance. Whew.
Yeah.
These are some mean things they're saying.
I know. That's the thing about this show. They're like weirdly, needlessly cruel all the time to one another about not much.
Yes, but Natalie's got a burn in her back pocket. And she just asked Blair about Stuart, who hasn't called her in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Nat knows she's waiting.
She sure is. Waiting. Mm-hmm.
Blair calls herself a fool for letting Nat into her life in the first place. And Nat's like, let me in, you dragged me in, as though these writers clearly haven't seen the past nearly 50 episodes of the show. What are you even talking about, guys?
Yeah, that's the thing. Also, I'll say this about nothing about this episode is well constructed or thought out. Right? So once Natalie knows that Blair read her diary and is completely obnoxious about it, right? She's like dead set on getting revenge, right? Not dead set on getting revenge, but they set up this privacy rules or whatever, right? And none of that shit makes sense. But then in the last part of the denouement of this is that Natalie reads Blair's chemistry homework and she's like, oh shit, she's gonna fuck this shit up. And then she's like, and Tootie's like, well, shouldn't we tell her? And she's like, no, why tell her? And Tootie's like, well, what's going to happen? She's like, well, she's going to stank like an egg for like a week.
We're getting there. That's coming.
No, but let me just say one thing. Here's the thing. They all live in the same fucking room. If Joe's snoring, Blair stinks like rotten eggs. Tootie's, I don't know, doing her exercises all the time. It's like, this is bad revenge.
I'll agree with you. I do agree with you. But so Nat says that Blair is the one who shared everything about her life, which is exactly what Blair just said. And then Blair denies saying it, going on an egotistical, selfish, airbrained witch doesn't share. And Nat finally is like, you read my diary.
Yeah. She says, you read my diary!
That is true. A decent lull.
We went from, normal, like, level 3 to 4 level conversation to Natalie shitting her goddamn pants at, that was Tootie having a meltdown, having to see Jermaine Jackson.
Decent lull from Mrs. Garrett saying she took the key out of the sock.
Yeah. Huh? She took the key out of the sock? That I wrote that down, and then this gets huge laughs and whistles from the audience. People are like going nuts. They're like, what? Yeah. And then Natalie freaks out and is like, you know too. Is there anyone who doesn't know? And I wrote down, no, you moron.
They all knew.
To do, being like, I gotta hide. I've been writing my secret thoughts about probably all of you, and now I do my whole rigmarole of hiding it, and you can't see it, so turn around. And everyone's like, we fucking watch you do this every day. What are you doing with this stupid charade and facade?
Nat does say she's tired of her life being on the 6 o'clock news, and that is actually fair because there have been a lot of breaches in Natalie's personal info. Last week, her dad, her adoptive parents, all those hand jobs she gave when she was 12. She's been the subject of a lot.
She bragged about the hand jobs. And also, a breach of privacy. The breach of privacy was with her dad. Her dad was the one who was being spied on.
Fair.
The only real breach of privacy was when Blair found out that Natalie was adopted and was like, fuck, what do I do about this? Should I tell her? How did I find this out? Oh, I was digging into my friend's past for no reason. So that's the real bad one.
Well, Nat leaves and says she's going to make some changes around here and storms out while Blair makes like 20 pouty faces into the camera until the audience is forced to applaud.
Yeah. I wrote down awkward applause like we're back in season 1.
It was so weird. It
Yeah,
was a really weird applause.
It was like where it was like, oh shit, that girl upstairs might have killed herself.
Oh, Sue-Ann has an eating disorder. I love it. So we're back from commercial break, and Nat has now tented her bottom bunk with a sheet and written private trespassers will be shot. Super subtle.
Yeah.
Apparently the new privacy rules are hot off the press and being stuck on all the doors, like Martin Luther's proclamation.
Indeed.
Blair thinks that this is premature because she has some additions and some clarifications. This shit got real fast.
Yeah.
Also, it looks like Blair is snacking on a box of baking soda.
No. So I wrote down, I was like, what is she eating? Is this Greeked out Triscuits? Is this Cheerios?
I actually was so excited when it was confirmed to be baking soda because I genuinely was like, she's snacking on baking soda.
It did look like Arm & Hammer, right? Yeah, it did. But that was so weird because I was like, what is that? Because it's too small?
I thought I was wrong. Like, I thought I was like, I'm being absurdist. Anyway, so Joe comes, Joe says, I'm sure, yeah. Joe says, in the past few days, you've come out with more editions than the New York Times. But, like, wouldn't the New York Times only have put out, like, 2, maybe 3 editions tops in the past few days?
No, so old newspaper, in the past, newspapers had a morning edition and an evening edition. So there would be, like, 2 a day, right?
Yeah, so like 4, max.
Yeah, but obviously this has a lot of, new additions and addendum, that, need to be included.
Yes, including
most important one? No one
not rooting over someone's shoulder.
No, not answering the phone.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that one. Number 4 is no reading over anyone's shoulder, which she happens to read while Tootie's reading over her shoulder, which is exemplary of why I hate these writers.
Yeah.
And Blair chastises Tootie for not having memorized this yet, even though it just came out.
Just got there.
Yeah. Just leave Tootie alone this week, you guys.
She's been through enough.
She really has. She's had a rough season.
Yeah.
Joe wants to know why she's got the baking soda, and I was thrilled that I was right. But Blair's like, no explanations, and I'm like, yeast infection.
Well, no, that's not. Okay, but the best thing is that it's like rule number 4, no reading over other people's shoulders. Rule number 5, no explanations, which I don't actually understand. How can that be a rule? It's like, why are you...
You can't explain it.
And then I wrote down, I was like, rule 34, there's porn of that.
100%. There is facts of life porn. We can do that when this is done.
No.
Anyway, Tootie kills all the fun and says it's for the science experiment. And Blair's like, how the fuck did you know that? And Tootie's like, she knew before she knew she wasn't supposed to know, but also context clues.
Yeah. And then the phone rings and everyone's like...
Oh, wait. Yes. Before that, Tootie laments about learning the rules again because her snorri line got stuffed up. See what I did there?
Yeah.
Snorri line. But yes, then the phone does ring, and Blair's about to fly in the face of rule number 9, which is apparently make Mrs. Garrett answer the phone.
No.
Technically, the rule is no answering other people's phone calls, but we live in pre-caller ID 1982, so I don't understand how that's a concept.
And they have one phone.
Yeah, I agree. And then Blair takes the opportunity to show some, swipe some low-hanging fruit, and she's like, Nat, you don't get phone calls, so it doesn't matter for you. She got phone calls that week. Everybody thought she was giving hand jobs, though.
Yeah. She got a lot of phone calls.
Yes. Tootie points out the obvious flaw in the phone rule, but then it stops ringing.
Yeah. And then, here's the thing, is it like the phone rule becomes the crux of the problems between these two girls. Because no one wants to answer the phone because that's against the rules unless you know that it's a call for you. And then Mrs. Garrett becomes hysterical at the idea that the phone is not... And here's the thing, you know what? 1982? Definitely not before the invention of the answering machine.
Bingo. And so Tootie points out this, and then Natalie silently puts a padlock on her chest, and Tootie's like, a lock, Natalie? Really? A lock?
And Natalie said, and again, here I will say this is a great burn. So Natalie's like, I'm the only one with the combination. I got it all right up here. And Blair says, yeah, you got plenty of room for it.
Writers are so bitchy.
No, I was like, I am here for you, Blair. Like, take Natalie down. That bitch down. She is being a weird little, annoying little cunt. So, be me.
You are such a Blair apologist. It is ridiculous. Like, you blondes got to stick together. Because the past 2 weeks, we know what started this. What started this is the toothbrush.
No. Also, here's the thing. Especially last week, Blair was doing Natalie a favor. She was trying to get the guy that she likes to buy her box. You're like,
outrageous.
Okay.
No, I don't see. You're such a Blair apologist. So even when Blair's agreeing with Natalie on the lock thing, like she's like, you're right, we all should invest in locks. She's still calling Nat an idiot.
Yeah.
But Joe's like, not me. If I don't want you to know something, you're not going to know it. I'm going to shove it up in my pussy, roll it up. You're never going to find it. You know what? Come try to find it. Blair, come here. I want you to see if you can get it.
Yeah.
Then Mrs. Garrett, still determined to make her plot a thing, comes in and asks if the girls want to go shoplift something from Harrison's with her.
Yeah, because apparently that's the only store in Peekskill.
Yeah, and everything they have is frumpy.
Yeah.
She needs an outfit that will impress 1,300 people. Or she says it's 12, but 13.
Then Tootie goes, it's 1,300. And then she's like, oh, no, I can't believe it. That's even worse. And Joe's like, I got to get the fuck out of here, so I will come with you. And everyone's like, Joe, you hate shopping. And she's like, anything is better than watching one another. It's Poland over here.
What was that referencing?
That's the Cold War.
So she was just saying, like, Poland's just staring at each other.
No. Poland is literally, like, adjacent to the USSR, and the US is over here. So it's like Poland was like, oh, fuck. Like, I'm worried about us.
Geographical joke. Got it.
That's smart because she's Polish on the show. So
she's Polnichekish.
Yeah.
Mrs. Garrett wants to know who called before, and they explain that there's nobody answering the phone anymore. Mrs. Garrett has a fucking heart attack.
Yeah, she has a meltdown. She's like, no, what's answering the phone?
And she screams, there must be something that's not frumpy to wear in Peekskill.
Yeah.
And if it is, none of these girls have got it.
Yeah.
And we're out of that scene.
Yeah. But I was like, Mrs. Garrett is a woman of a certain age, right?
As we all are.
Yes. Mid-50s, right?
Yeah.
What is she looking to wear to a dietitian conference? Is she looking to wear one of those bandage dresses? Something that, like, a Kardashian would wear?
Like something like this, just like black straps, like sort of like, it's like, you know, like all cleavage, all side boob on both sides.
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of like, you know, what Miley Cyrus wears to award shows where it's just like, it just covers her tits.
Yeah, or like that Jennifer Lopez flowy thing.
Yeah,
that's a lady of a certain age.
Yeah, well, that's J-Lo, not Mrs. Garrett. But again, is that appropriate for a dietitian conference?
Maybe she wants to get laid. It's like, how often does she get to be in Poughkeepsie?
Around all these dietitians. Poughkeepsie is 45 minutes away from Peekskill. So
I did the math.
She could be there all the time.
If she wanted.
The raging metropolis of Poughkeepsie, New York.
Anyway, so back in the cafeteria, Nat is having a problem. She interrupts Tootie's individual study time, which I guess is supposed to be a reference to the rules.
Yeah. But, like, they're studying together, so it's not individual. I don't really understand what the hell's going on.
Not at all. These writers, man. But she forgot her lock combination, that was quick, and spends 2 minutes of the episode just saying numbers in different orders as though it's going to one time be funny, and it never is.
And I didn't write down any of that because I'm trying to ignore it.
Yeah, and Nat's hoping that Snoopy Tootie cheated, but Tootie, as I said earlier, is like Matt Lauer, and she's just like, nope, I didn't do nothing. I'm good, girl. Nope.
Yep.
And that sucks because there's a 10-page essay all up in that footlocker. Is that what we called chests in 1982?
Yeah.
I never heard that before, but I'll accept it.
Trunk, but it's like, it's an old-timey term because, like, we think of footlockers as a place to buy sneakers.
That's correct.
No, it's a boarding school term because it's like you would ship your kid off with their steamer trunk and it would stay at the foot of their bed.
Seems so heavy, and like, how did they get it up there?
I don't know, Bates Boys labor.
Okay. Anyway, Joe tells Nat to tell her teacher that the essay is in solitary.
And you know, I was like, for someone whose father is a former ex-con, she's pretty, like, you know, like offhand about making fun of, like, people who've been to jail.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, maybe
or
that's
essays that have been to jail. Nat laments she's gonna have to start her 10-page essay from scratch, and it's all Blair's fault. She gives a shit-eating grin.
Yeah.
There's definitely a way into that footlocker. For sure. No one would ever write a 10-page essay again. They would fucking take a hammer to that footlocker before writing a 10-page essay. I would.
For sure.
Nat laments that she's going to have to start it again. I said that already. Regardless, Blair is more happy to take the blame. And I thought that shit-eating grin of Blair's was one of the better points of the episode.
Yeah. She was like, yeah, sorry. You suck.
Yeah, I think it was just because it was probably not scripted. It was just
decided
by her.
Lisa Whelchel acting.
Yeah, just trying to find a way to make this episode watchable, which it barely is. Mrs. Garrett comes down holding a box, asking everyone what she thinks of her blouse. It's covered by a box,
Yeah, a
so
box full of like beakers and other glassware that Blair needs for her chemistry experiment, because obviously Mrs. Garrett would have those supplies because she's the school dietitian.
yeah.
Anyway,
There.
she's like, "Hey, girls, do you like my new blouse? Blah, blah. Does it make me look confident?" I didn't
Well,
write.
no, not yet. Hang on, this is important to me. She goes, how's my new blouse? She spins around, and nobody looks up or says a word, and then she just goes, my hair?
Yeah, she asked me.
And they don't give a response to that either. It's so pathetic and mean. These people are so mean. They're just dicks. They're dicks in this episode.
Super mean.
Anyway, we're getting back to the chemistry plot, I guess.
She's like, "Does it make me look, intelligent and confident?" And
Well, still not there yet. We still have to do all this chemistry shit. I got to go in order. So Mrs. Garrett thought that Blair and Natalie were going to work on their experiment together because she's been tone deaf to the entire plot of the episode, only thinking about her opening line, and she's very worried about those girls, but she's more worried about herself. Fuck off with that opening line thing. That's really more important. One of these girls is about to explode herself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, Mrs. Garrett asked the girls if the blouse makes her look cheap or like a knowledgeable dietitian, confident, forceful, and authoritative.
Yeah.
Did you add something on this?
No, it was just I literally wrote down just like, she's worried. She's like, "Do I look cheap in this?" And like, honest to God, like, Mrs. Garrett, you look cheap in everything.
It's a lot to ask for a pink blouse from Harrison's that she can look confident, forceful, and authoritative.
Yeah, no, it literally, and this is me being charitable, is that it literally looked like Melania Trump's pussy blouse. Remember the one that was pink and it had these big ribbon, like the thing that went around her neck? It literally looked like that.
Yeah, I keep an encyclopedic knowledge of all of Melania's blouses.
Just Google Melania pussy blouse and you'll know everything.
All right, pussy blouse. Screaming such crazy things at me through the internet. Anyway, Joe kisses ass and says she looks like $1 million marked down from $1.5 million, which feels like almost a neg. I don't know.
Sorry.
Regardless, she's.
Sorry. So I was gonna just pause you for 1 second before we get into the neg. So do you hear that noise outside?
Yes.
So do you do the 7 o'clock cheer in your neighborhood?
No, I don't.
So
I haven't heard it.
my whole block does. So we're gonna have that noise going on for like 2 to 3 minutes.
It's pretty quiet, but that's nice. But no, I have not experienced it in my neighborhood yet.
Okay.
Anyway, but it's nice. It's nice. I watched a video of that happening in New York, and I teared up.
I have a great before we get into the rest of this episode, I do have a very funny story about this. So
Sure.
that I will use this opportunity for these people making noise on our street, which we usually do participate in, but I'm busy doing this. Is that New York is obviously one of the hotspots of the this pandemic, and everyone has been told to stay at home and everything, and so everyone is doing the 7 o'clock cheer to to cheer on all the frontline people and hospital workers and delivery people and everything. In any case, a close friend of mine in New York is sheltering in place with her boyfriend who lives in Tribeca, and she. They were all participating in the cheer and like banging on pots and pans and like having a good time and whatever. And she's very nice and very sweet. But she's English. So, and the English overall tend to be very obsessed with fairness. Like the concept of everyone should have an equal time to do something. Anyway, so she started getting very annoyed by the fact that this woman across the street from the apartment that they were staying in had a vuvuzela, the very loud South African horn. And so this woman, because she had the loudest instrument during the cheer, was the only person who was like leading the cheer. Like she was the one that everyone followed. It was like, she was like,
Okay.
burp, burp, and then everyone was like, burp, 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 or whatever. Anyway, so my friend she just, I think the fact that everyone's been inside for so long, she got so frustrated and annoyed by this that she was like, I'm going to fucking beat that woman at this cheer. Ordered a special horn online. It's called a super horn. It's a boat horn. And she's like the most sweet, she sent me a birthday cake for my birthday. And she's just like, I'm going to fucking win that cheer. Miss Vuvuzela is going to get her ass handed to her. And then she's out there with a fucking boat horn.
That's amazing. People can turn anything into a competition.
She's like not that competitive, but she was like, this really well-meaning, nice thing, like, nut up or shut up. It was like the weirdest, funniest thing. But it's like, it would be like imagining, like, the nicest person being like their eyes went dark and they're like, I'm going to win the cheer. I'm going to do anything I want. I've been telling everyone about this.
Well, it's crazy. Anyway, let's get back to the facts of life. So Mrs. Garrett is babbling about all the things she has to do, get directions. We learned it's in Poughkeepsie, 45 minutes north. They all give nonsense advice about like posture and stuff.
Yeah.
And then
she's like, I have my route. I gassed up the car, blah, blah, blah. The phone rings.
Yes, and Blair goes to get it for a second, and then Nat stands in her way and is like, don't you fucking dare. And then they both turn expectantly to Mrs. Garrett, who is enraged.
She goes, oh, this is ridiculous. For heaven's sake. It was unbelievable. Again, it's the sort of thing where it's like, it's the telephone.
Yeah.
Who cares? Answer the goddamn phone.
Yeah, Mrs. Garrett, if you are so concerned about who it is and you think it might be for you, then answer it.
Yeah.
And if these girls don't want to answer it, tell them to fuck off and just deal with life. Anyway, Joe leaves because private study time is way too loud, and she's got all of the burly girls outside from the field hockey team waiting for Mrs. Garrett to leave so she can start a weird eyes wide shut party.
No. She goes, it's too loud in here for me to do the studying. I've got stuff to do. Which I guess is watching the movie where the man wants to put his hands around your neck. Like, there's so low specificity. She could have been like, I gotta go practice field hockey. I'm gonna go do my oil filter change, whatever. But it's like, no, I have stuff I need to do.
Yeah, and you just said what that stuff was. You said it was studying. What the fuck? Writers of this episode, Jesus.
Yeah.
Anyway, then Mrs. Garrett comes back in and says that it was Paul. Blair was too busy making history. Is that a joke? I get that it's a reference to the science project, but it's not fucking worthy of a callback.
Well, yes, it certainly isn't worthy of a callback. But Blair was like, I'm making history with my chemistry project. And then she's like, oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
anyway, so go ahead.
Then Blair says, Mrs. Garrett, would you please refrain from blurting out private information? Paul who? Paul Anderson. Who the fuck is Paul Anderson?
I don't know. It's not Stu. Blair's such a slut. She's got multiple Pauls, and apparently one of them is a toad, according to Natalie, who has very low standards. So that was shocking to find out.
Yeah, and she's like, ugh, Paul, that toad. And it's like, Natalie, you have zero self-image. You'd be happy if a dick fell in your face.
Yeah, is this guy like sub-Rocky Price? And what is he doing with Blair? Anyway, so Blair wants her messages written down and discreetly handed to her, which Natalie likes. So we're going to do that from now on. And Miss Garrett is going to literally kill them. But she can't.
Yeah.
She's doing Poughkeepsie, and she still doesn't have a hilarious anecdote. If only something funny could happen between here and Poughkeepsie.
Yeah.
This episode.
If only Milton Berle was here. You want to talk about Uncle Milty?
Sure. The only thing I know was as a child, my mom told me that he was kicked off of television because he once on his kids show said that his girlfriend is not a good cook, but she sure can make his banana cream.
I mean, I buy that because I'll say this. The other thing known about Uncle Milty is that he had one of the biggest dicks in Hollywood.
I thought you might bring that up.
Yes, thanks for giving me that. But when he was buried he was part of the Friars, and they were doing a memorial.
His casket have like a little dick bump?
No, so I can't remember what comedian was giving him the roast at his memorial service, but they said Uncle Milton Berle's penis will be entombed on May 1st as well as May 2nd.
That's pretty funny.
But he
That's
was
nice.
very, like, he had an incredibly long career. He was like active for like 80 years.
Penis.
Yeah. But aside from the dick thing, he was also a very famous upstager. Like, he liked to talk over people on stage. Like, he did it to like Richard Pryor. He did it like at the Emmys. Like, he's just like kind of like a dickhead.
So.
So.
It all goes back to the penis.
I mean,
Blair grabs.
Yeah.
So Blair grabs her back box of science stuff and blames Natalie for Mrs. Garrett's outburst. She's half right. It's both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And she heads to the kitchen where Nat waxes on about what a bitch Blair is, and then she notices something, but she's not allowed to notice things, right? It's one of the rules. Nat glances at Blair's chemistry notes and immediately bursts into laughter. She's so good at science that she just one glance at this paper and she can see a flaw. She's got a beautiful mind when it comes to chemistry.
It was unbelievably obnoxious. It was like as I've said on other episodes of this show, it really it shows these characters as the worst versions of themselves. Natalie's like,
we're all going to be smelling farts for the next week. So yeah, she sees the flaw. She knows exactly what the flaw is going to do. You see, when the thermal distillation solution chemicalizes, it'll produce, wait for it, sulfur dioxide.
And Tootie's like, please explain to me what that is, because I'm the audience surrogate.
Yeah, and also these writers are so funny. They decide to put jokes that are intended to bomb in their script. Everybody likes watching that. Means she's going to smell like a fucking piece of shit.
Yeah.
So Blair's got her lab coat on. Her beakers are warming. She's en route to getting her Nobel Prize for smelliness.
Mm-hmm.
Tootie wants to tell her, but Nat won't let her ruin the fun, and Nat is right here, I think.
No.
You love Blair.
No. It's for selfish reasons. If I have to sleep in the same room as someone who will be smelling like a piece of shit for a week, let them be humiliated in some other way. I don't want to sleep next to a person who smells like rotten eggs.
It's a fair point. You're clearly looking at the end game, and my view is short-sighted. I just want Blair punished. But Joe comes. Hang on. So yes,
Meanwhile, Mrs. Garrett returns. Right.
That's correct. Yes.
Oh my God, I forgot my notes.
I must have gotten distracted
while molding my meatloaf.
Did you mold your meatloaf today?
Not today. I haven't molded my meatloaf, but I have been known to. You know what I like to do? I like to stick a couple of string cheese, the mozzarella cheese sticks. Stick those in the center of my meatloaf before I cook it. A little dab of ricotta, a little Parmesan cheese. It's great.
Oh, that sounds almost basically like a meat lasagna without pasta.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Ooh, I want to make that tonight. Maybe I will be molding my meatloaf tonight.
When I mold my meatloaf, it helps me fall asleep.
I love it. Anyway, Mrs. Garrett, who goes into the kitchen, and it's on the subtitles. Blair goes, back in the beaker.
Anyway, so then the great thing is that, like, what we're waiting for is Blair's whole thing to fuck up, right?
Yeah, and it does.
Mrs.
Garrett screams.
And it's off camera.
Because they couldn't afford it. I know. So Mrs. Garrett and Blair come out of the kitchen smelling like shit. Blair does not know what went wrong. The thing bubbled up. Mrs. Garrett pinches her nose and goes,
I have no idea what she says.
Oh, she goes, all over me!
Yes. All over me! Yeah.
Joe comes down, and now we know why she left, so she could have an entrance that's pretty fucking funny.
What's that revolting smell? Oh, it's you, Blair.
Why, Blair, it's you.
Huge laughs. Everyone
Yeah,
just crazy. Yeah.
the audience eats it up. It's pretty good. Mrs. Garrett says she's got a shower and change now. She spent so much time working on that ugly outfit. It was her whole plot. And it said all those nice things about her.
That being said, I mean, if I were Mrs. Garrett, right, and I was already late for my dietitian convention, I hadn't come up with my opening, right? I lost my notes. I left them behind. Now I smell like shit. Presumably, I'm going to smell like shit for a fucking week. Doesn't matter how many showers I take. Also, the cute outfit I just bought is destroyed because it smells like shit, right? But also, if she has to take a shower and try to get to the dietitian convention, how long do you think it takes for Mrs. Garrett to do her hair?
An hour and 45 minutes.
Conservatively, at least 2.5.
Maybe she'll wear a shower cap. She seems like the shower cap type. Oh, it'll smell bad.
It will. That's the thing, is that you and I grew up in New York, and we also grew up in a time when you could still smoke in bars. What was the thing that you would come home and, like, even if you weren't smoking, didn't your hair smell like trash? Because you've just been around it. Hair
Usually don't have long hair to smell, but I do understand what you're saying. Anyway, so but Nat points out that this is the funny thing that happens along the way to Poughkeepsie for Mrs. Garrett. And she's like, it is? It is.
What? How is this relevant to nutrition?
You have a good point. I mean, I've thought about this, actually, and it's like, I watch all these girls of their dietitian and they do stupid shit. It's loose, but it's something.
Yeah, okay, I get it. Like, you have a funny story or a funny anecdote or whatever, like, as an icebreaker to, like, warm up the audience and get them into the palm of your hand or whatever. But if it's a dietitian convention, it should be food related.
You're right.
Not like my stupid, like, kid at the school that I work at blew up my kitchen, and now that's why I smell so bad.
But she can put that meatloaf molding part into it, so that can make it relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So Blair laments that she feels like a failure, and Nat points out she almost had it right, exposing the fact that she let Blair nearly explode the kitchen. You were so close, Nat. You could have gotten away with it. Nat admits she saw the notes. She didn't tell Blair because of privacy rules, even though she cheated on the privacy rules by reading Blair's notes. Tootie says this whole episode is dumb and she wishes it was over.
Yeah, she's like, remember we used to trust one another?
Yeah, also she doesn't know how to use air freshener.
She's like, here's the butt thing. Yeah, she's just like, psh, 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 psh. She is using that air freshener. Yeah, she's just like, here's my rule. Let's forget the rules.
Grown. But also Blair's like, Tootie!
Yeah.
And so the new rules, no rules. Barf. Nat admits that she wrote the whole thing in the diary after Blair polished all her jewelry with Nat's toothbrush. It's what this is about. It's so fucked up. It's more fucked up than anything that's gone down in this episode.
Yeah. And then she says, but the most fucked up thing is that bad joke. She's like, that really left a bad taste in my mouth. And as I said, like this episode.
And Blair doesn't even apologize.
No, she's like, oh yeah, that's right. I did do that shitty thing.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
What a fucking nightmare. Anyway, so Joe comes in and says she wants to be done with this episode too.
Yeah.
That's like, wait, I've got one more plot thread. It's my 10-page essay in the Foot Locker. And she's like, here it is. I'm big and tough. I hated this episode. I shoved my fucking fist in this till it burst open like it's Jennifer McFadden. You're welcome. Let's be done. Nat's like, thanks, Joe. Can you please help with my chemistry now? Blair says, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Come on. Nat's like, do I still look like Moose Jaw Muldoon? And Blair's like, not if I get my B+.
No.
What a bad episode. Like,
Did you hear that, lovelies? Did you hear that? Did you catch it? Did you catch it? Did you hear it? Because that doesn't happen that often.
No. especially not this deep into the show. Because I look ahead, and the rest of the season is garbage, basically. But I look ahead, and like season 4 is filled with things I'm excited to do. I mean, I'm excited to talk about the garbage that's coming, honestly, because we've got 2 backdoor pilots, basically.
I know you told.
One's like a full-on backdoor pilot. I think they both are, or one is more just boys. We'll see. Yeah. Anyway, any final thoughts?
No, but I did have to just say that. So remember last week when we had the burn book episode?
Yes.
Right, and everyone, and like Mrs. Garrett was acting, she was like, I don't even know what this is. Is this homework? She's like, if I get my hands on that burn book, I'm gonna put it into my Cuisinart.
Yes.
My Cuisinart arrived today. That was my coronavirus, quarantine purchase. And I told you that I used to have one, but then it got full of ants, so I bought a new one. And I seem to have bought one that is like so much more complex. And it has like a billion parts, and it's like putting together a rocket ship. I'm very intimidated by my new Cuisinart.
Well, I'm excited to get the Cuisinart update each week on the Facts of Facts.
Yeah.
What color did you get?
It's sort of like gunmetal gray.
Oh, that sounds hot.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Well, until next time, and next time will be weird. Love you, my lovelies. I love you, my luscious, lovely, lickable Britt Lundborg.
I love you.
And we will see you soon.
Sounds good.
Bye.